Hi, friends. My name is Amani. I am 18 years old. I'm the only child of my parents. I have always asked my mother for a sister to be my best friend, or a brother to be beside me in tough times, but she always tells me that she cannot have children for health reasons. One day, I entered her room and I found her crying while holding a photo album. I took it up and found she was looking at my photos when I was young. Then I asked her what made her cry, but she refused to speak. When I insisted, she told me that she suffered from severe bleeding during my birth and almost lost her life. Hence, the doctors decided to do an urgent operation to save her life, which led to part of her womb being removed. After that, the doctors told her that her body cannot bear giving birth again. If she does, she would only blame herself. I sat next to her and embraced her and then apologized to her, saying, "Forgive me, Mother. I was the cause." She wiped her tears quickly and said, "No, my daughter, do not say that again because you are the apple of my eye. If you were not in my life, I would have gone crazy." At that time, my father entered and saw the photo album. As he saw what was going on, he approached us and said, "Praise be to God. Praise be to God," and he kept saying it several times. After some days, while I was in my room, I remembered this situation again. I thought a little, and then I decided to speak to my friend. I opened my laptop and sent a message to my close friend Wissal on WhatsApp. We talked for a long time, and I told her everything that happened. She suggested something. She told me that medicine has evolved, and every day the world makes intractable diseases, a disease that disappears with a single pill. Perhaps your mother can have children if she re-examines. I liked the idea, and I rushed to my mother. I suggested the idea to her, but she refused. She told me that she is over it. I said to myself, she is not over it yet because I saw her crying about that. The next day, Wissal visited me, and we talked for some time about it. We then implement a good plan. We agreed that she would occupy my mother with a little conversation while I will go to her room and search for her medical file and take it secretly to specialists in that field. Perhaps we find a thread of hope for my mother. We started to implement the plan. Wissal kept talking to my mom to keep her busy, while I entered her room and searched in her closet. I did not find anything. Suddenly, I saw the photo album above the closet. I brought the chair quietly and used it to get there. As I passed my hand over the cupboard, I felt a bag with a file. I took it and put the chair back in place and rushed to my room. I hid it, and I went back to the guest room as if nothing had happened. I looked at Wissal, and with a gesture of my hand, she understood that I was one with my own part of the plan. With my mother's permission, she left the house. That night, when everyone slept, I took out the file and started looking for anything that concerns my mother's operation. But I was shocked by the first paper that I found. It was my death certificate. What? It is my death certificate. Oh my God, this is my name, and this is my birth date. But what is this? Am I dead? Am I a ghost, just like in the movies? But I communicate with everyone. Or are we all dead? I looked for the date of my death and found it to be 4 years after my birth. So I died when I was 4 years old. So this is why my mom was crying while holding the photo album. But how did I die? And why am I still alive? I took my phone and called Wissal while I was shaking. She replied, "What happened? Why are you calling me at this late hour of the night?" I told her, "I am dead, Wissal. I found my death certificate." "What are you delirious with?" I told her what I found, so she asked me to put the file back in its place and bring her the death certificate tomorrow so she can see it. That night passed like a year when I was in a whirlpool. I turned on the phone flash every now and then and reread the testimony again, until the morning came and my father went to work. While my mother was busy, I returned the bag with the file to its place above the cupboard, and I took permission from my mother and went to meet Wissal. When I got to their house, she was surprised by what she saw. She thought I was preparing a prank for her, and after she suggested several possibilities, she asked me to tell my parents and ask them about the paper. On my way back, I thought a lot and then decided to do what Wissal suggested. When night fell, I went to my parents' room. I knocked on the door, and my mother opened the door. I told her I needed to talk to you. She was surprised, and she let me in. Then I sat on their bed where my father was lying down. You are my Amani, my daughter. Have you lost your memory? Then he followed it with a laugh. But when he didn't see the smile on my face, he stopped and asked me, "What's wrong with you, my girl?" I told him, "Dad, tell me the truth. I know that Amani died 14 years ago." My mother started crying, and she could not stop. And my father's face starts changing color. "Who told you this nonsense?" I answered him. I found my death certificate in my mother's wardrobe. He turned to her angrily and said, "Are you happy now? How many times have I asked you to get rid of those pictures and files? Did you see pictures? Do you mean that I am not the child in the pictures too?" My mother grabbed my hand and started saying, "Stop, Amani. Please stop asking questions. You are my daughter, my own daughter." I told her that if she did not tell me, I would find out in my own way. My mother started crying without stopping. My father approached me and said, "Amani, my daughter, calm down and listen to what I will say. Your mother will never be able to tell you the truth. In 2002, we had Amani, and we were unable to give birth to others for the reasons that your mother explained to you yesterday. After 4 years, we had a car accident and lost Amani." My father was talking, and his eyes were full of tears, and I felt that everything I lived was a lie. My father told me that I was an adopted child from an orphanage, and he brought me when my mother had a severe depression, and that I was only the sin of my parents who abandoned me. They gave me their daughter's name and raised me on that basis. Then my mother got up and embraced me. "Do not leave us, oh Amani. You are my daughter, and I love you." I hugged her and said, "Yes, I love you, and you will always be my mother, who took care of me and cared for me until I grew up." I walked to my room and stayed for a week while I was confused, and Wissal supported me a lot at those moments. One morning I sat with them, and I asked for their permission to leave, not because I hate them or they were wrong about something. No, on the contrary, I love them a lot because they raised me and considered me their daughter. But to start the journey of searching for my real parents, I want to get my real name back, and they agreed to my request after I promised them that I will always be the virtuous daughter for them. I really don't know if you liked my story, but I want to share my story with you, and I don't want what happened to me to happen to you. Perhaps my story gets to my mom or dad or both to know that I am looking for them. Do not hold back, and share it everywhere. Okay, it's time to go. See you next time with more new and exciting stories. Be on time. Goodbye.